that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to be checking out Viticulture from Stonemaier Games. This is for 2 to 6 players, ages 13 and up, and it'll take you about 45 minutes to an hour and a half to play. And in Viticulture, you will be running a winery, and I mean you will be running just about every aspect of that winery. You will be planting grapes and crushing grapes and putting them in the cellar. You're going to be aging them and placing your workers. You're going to be selling them and trying to keep your, seasonal visitors and all sorts of stuff. Whew! Let's open up and see how it works. Alright, so we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Viticulture, the strategic game of winemaking. Now, before we get into the handy-dandy rule booklet, I just want to go over how nice this box is. This is an exceptionally nice box, a great insert, just absolutely top-notch, and we're not going to be showing all the components. As you can see, they all have their own little slots. Here's the coins for the 5s and the 2s and the 1s. And all the different things have their own little spot. Very, very nicely done box insert. So, first and foremost, we're going to get to our handy-dandy rule booklet. It is, what is it, probably about 10 pages, 12 pages, double-sided, full color. This is one of the best rule booklets I have ever had. It is just fantastic. Very, very well done, well implemented, and will have you up and running in no time. And also, I like this rule booklet because it's one of those rule booklets where you can start reading it and then get everything set up and then maybe start playing a little bit, and it's going to hold your hand the entire way through, which is always good. And also, for the second time, the third time, every other time, they're going to include this little rules summary and reference sheet, which will have you up and running in no time at all. I wish more game makers did this. This is a brilliant idea. It just has everything you need to know, whereas the big rules are going to flesh out everything so you'll get a grasp of how the game works. So, next we're going to go over the components, which there are a lot of them, and then we're going to go into the gameplay. Now, I already showed you the coins and whatnot, but now let's go ahead and show you the board. And as you can see, the board is very, very gorgeous. This is a double-sided board. Both sides are pretty much the same, except for the writing over here. All the writing on the board is taken away on the other side, and that's more for people who have played the game a lot and just want the beautiful artwork, which as you can see it is. There's also player boards, which are right here, which as you can see are going to be double-sided. So this side has no artwork at all, or this side has no text at all, and this side has all the text. Moving on to the components, we're going to have cards, and more cards up here. You're going to have 4 different types of cards. The first one we're going to have are vine cards. And these are going to be what you're going to be planting in your fields, which will give you grapes. So this one is going to give you I guess you'd call it a level 3 grape. And this one will give you a level 2 grape. And then this one will give you a level 1 grape and a level 1 red grape and a level 1 white grape. But as you can see up top here, it's going to need a trellis. But we'll get more into what all that means later. But those are going to be, the green cards are going to be the vines that you're going to be planting in your fields. Because in this game, and I should go over this, in this game, you're going to be running a winery from top to bottom, from grapes to wine, and you're going to be trying to gain the most victory points down here on the victory tracker. Next cards, we're going to go over these two together. We're going to have summer visitors and winter visitors, because in this game, there's going to be 2 phases. One's going to be the summer phase, where you'll be able to place your workers, because this is a worker placement game, on all these different yellow spots over here, and then you'll move on to the winter phase, where you'll be able to place all the rest of your workers that you have remaining for the year on the blue spaces over here. So these are just going to be guys that will help you break the rules pretty much. So build a structure at a 3 discount. So this is going to make you be able to build things cheaper. We'll take a look at one of the winter visitors. Pay less 3 to upgrade your cellar to the next level. This is really, really big, and you'll find out in a couple minutes. But these are going to give you unique special abilities that really, really are going to help you out throughout the game. And you'll be able to play those at various different points if you go over here to the spot which says play. And in fact, I'm going to bring the board closer to you so you can see all the different spots you can do, but I'll do that in a minute. So let's keep going over the components. Next, you are going to have your workers. You're going to have your people who are going to be running your fields and your grapes and all your cellars and all that different kind of stuff. And you're only going to start with a couple of them. However, you'll have the option to get more as the game goes along. Also, I do want to point out there is 1 gray worker, which we'll show you in a minute how you get him. So last but not least, and not even close actually, are all these, which are going to be your individual pieces. And as you can see, there are tons of these nicely crafted wooden pieces. Holy moly! You're going to have a piece for pretty much everything you need on the board. But the most important one, I think, to show you right now is the Grande worker. He's going to be much larger than your other workers, as you can see, and he's going to have a unique special ability, which we'll get to later. So we've gone over all the components aside from one. Last, we're going to check out your board right here. Now, this is going to be the board in front of you. And this board is going to help you keep track of various different things. Down here, you're going to be keeping track of your grapes. And you're going to be aging your grapes and building grapes. And then you're going to turn them into wine. And you're going to put the wine into your cellar over here. And as you can see, you're going to need to build bigger cellars in order to have better wines. All sorts of stuff like that. You're going to have over here, this is a irrigation system which will allow you to make better grapes. Likewise, the trellis, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. And these are going to be physical pieces that you're actually going to be putting on your board to help you remember that you have them. Just a really nice added touch. You got a bunch of different stuff. Some will give you victory points. This one right here will let you draw additional cards, the cheat cards, the summer and winter visitor cards. This is going to be your own personal board. Everyone is going to get their own board, and this is really going to be important because that's where you're going to be managing your winery. So now let's get on to the board, and I do want to mention this is a little bit of a discombobulated review because this is a very complex. It's not a complex game, but there's a lot going on in the game. But once you know how to play the game, you do the same things repeatedly over and over again. So it's not really a complex game. I want to get that out there. So let's get to the board, which as you can see, we're going to zoom in on it. It looks really nice. And there's going to be a couple different things. Now first over here, you're going to have your first player track. Because what's going to happen is you are going to be deciding who's going to go first with your little rooster, because that's going to be who wakes up first. And if you decide that you want to go first and you want to place your workers wherever you want to do that, that's great. You're going to be able to place your workers wherever you want. However, if you're willing to gamble a little bit, you can go down to these spots right here. Like this one right here will give you a green card if you play that. And this one will give you a purple card. This one will give you a coin. This one will give you a yellow or blue card, which as we mentioned are the visitors that will let you cheat. Not really cheat, but they'll break the rules of the game a little bit. This one will give you just a straight up victory point. And then I mentioned the gray worker right here. This one will actually give you an additional worker for this year. So that can be extremely helpful, especially early on in the game. Now, I mentioned this is a worker placement game, so let's go ahead and take a look at the different spots that you're going to be able to do. Now, I said earlier that all the yellow spots are going to be things that you can do in the summertime, so let's take a look at them. First, we got right here, this one's going to allow you to play a yellow card. Those are going to be the summer visitor cards, as I mentioned, which will kind of let you break a rule of the game. And you might notice that there's kind of a little spot right here where it looks like you can play 2 cards. That's because if you play in that spot, you'll be able to play 2 cards. However, once you play there, no one else is going to be able to take that spot. So if you wanted to do that, you might really want to get there quick so you can play 2 yellow cards if you have 2 yellow cards. And also, if you don't have 2 yellow cards, you can block other people, which is always a cool idea. Well, not a cool idea, it's a mean idea, but it's a great idea. So, that's going to be that spot. This one over here is going to allow you to draw a green card, draw a vine card, which will let you, which you'll be able to plant in your fields, hopefully. And as you can see, if you play there, you're going to be able to draw 2 green cards. Right here, you're going to sell 1 or more of your grape tokens. Now let's go back to this board right here. Your grapes are going to be down here, and as you can see, you'll be able to sell your 1 through 3 ones for 1 coin, and 2 coins down here and for 3 coins. So the more you age your grapes and the better grapes you have, the more you're going to be able to sell them. And this is the spot right here where you're going to sell them. Now I do want to mention right here, these little glass things are actually how you're going to keep track of both what grapes you have and what wine you have. But I don't have time to go into all the details of that. But needless to say, it's actually done very in a really cool way that makes a lot of sense, and it's very simple. So down here, we're going to keep going on. We got our plant. This means you're going to be able to plant one of your green cards that you got earlier. So you'll be able to put cards into your fields. And if you go there, as you can guess, it's going to let you plant 2 things, or 2 vines into your field. And I forgot to mention right here, if you go there, you'll be able to get an additional victory point. This one is going to allow you just to gain money by giving a tour of your wine factory. And down here, this one's going to let you build 1 structure. So you'll be able to build one of the structures that are on your board down here, your personal player board. And that's what you're going to be able to do in the summer. Now, the thing is, you're going to want to be able to, you're going to want to make sure that you're not using all your workers in the summer, because next you're going to move on to the winter phase. And when you go to the winter phase, if you don't have any workers, then you won't be able to play any on the winter phase. So you're going to have to balance out your workers throughout the entire year. Now, once we start the winter phase, you'll be able to draw one of the either yellow or blue cards, as we mentioned, the visitor cards. And we'll go over real quickly what you can do in the blue phase. So up here, pretty self-explanatory, you'll be able to play the blue cards, the visitor cards. Down here, you're going to be able to draw purple cards. And holy moly, I forgot to mention the purple cards. The purple cards are actually going to be wine orders that you're going to be completing. So, for instance, this one right here, if you have a 3 red wine and a 1 white wine in your cellar, which are going to be over here, then you would successfully gain 2 victory points, and you get to move 1 on the track, which we'll talk about just next, that will give you money at the end of every turn. This one, if you have a 4, a 3, and a 2 of red wine, you'll gain 4 victory points, you'll get to move up 1. And obviously, as the wine gets finer and nicer, you'll gain more victory points and more money, and so on and so forth. But those are going to be things that you're going to be completing. So, lots of stuff to go over here. So next, let's go back over here. So that'll allow you to draw those wine order cards. This is going to let you harvest your field. And when you harvest fields, you're going to take the grapes out of your field and put them into your little grape crushing area down here. So for instance, let's grab 2 cards randomly, see what we get. So let's just say we have this in our field right here. So we would be able to, if we harvest 1 field, be able to turn that 4 into a 4 red. And we put it right there on the 4, and that would symbolize that we have a level 4 red 4 grape, which we'll be able to use to turn into wine. So next, we've harvested our field. You can also make up to 2 wine tokens. That just means that you're going to be moving your little glass pieces from the grapes over to the wine. So that's what that's going to be. And the spot in the middle will allow you to make 3 wine tokens instead of just 2. Down here we've got fill and order, which, as I mentioned, were the purple cards where you'll gain victory points and money. And if you go right there, you'll get an additional victory point, which is a really good deal. Down here, I mentioned earlier that you would get more workers than you originally started with. If you pay 4 coins, you'll be able to train a new worker who will work for you, not this year, but in all the years to come. And last but not least, this one will gain you $1, and everybody can play here. And you can do this in the summer or the winter. It's really not that good of an option, but if you don't have any other choices, it'll gain you a coin. So the last thing I'm going to show you on the board is this right here. And you're going to be putting your wine glass on here, and this is just going to symbolize how much money you're going to get at the end of every turn. And this is only going to go up. It doesn't go down, which means, so if you complete an order and you move it 1, you'll get 1 coin at the end of the year, and then if you do it the next year, you'll gain 2 at the end of every single year. Down here we have the victory points. You're going to be trying to get to 20 victory points, and you play till the end of the year, so other people will have an opportunity to catch you if you get 20 victory points, say, in the summer phase. So, what have I not forgot to mention? So, grande workers. That's the last thing we're going to go over because it's very, very important. So, this is a worker placement game. So, normally what's going to happen is if somebody plays here, and then someone plays here, and somebody plays here, and this is a 5 or 6 player game, then no one else could play right here, and that would be unfortunate. However, if you play your big bad grande worker, you'll still be able to play there and get whatever benefit that is. And you can do that anywhere on the board. You, however, cannot say I'm playing it right here and getting the special bonus. So, you're going to continue. You're going to go through the winter phase and the summer phase and the winter phase. You're going to be drawing special event cards. You're going to be special visitor cards. You're going to be placing all your workers. You're going to be harvesting your wine, turning grapes into wine, and then putting the wine in your cellar. There's tons of cool mechanics here. Like at the end of every year, your grapes are going to They're going to age 1 year in your wine well, and they'll continue to go up. So you got to bump up your cellar. There's a lot going on in this game. But I think I pretty much covered as much as I could without just going into a full gameplay. But that, in a nutshell, is how Viticulture works. Alrighty then, Viticulture from Stonemaier Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, the game's not going to be for everybody. If you're playing with newer gamers, like much newer gamers, this is definitely not going to be what I would consider a gateway game. Especially because, as you can see in my attempt to try and show you the game, there is a lot just thrown at you right from the get-go. And for newer gamers, it is going to seem daunting. Also, if you have, a larger gaming group, 5 to 6 players, this one can be a lengthier game. You are looking at an hour to an hour and a half. I definitely do think that's about the right time frame. The last con I have with this game, and this is kind of a nitpick con, is I have the second edition of the game, and I definitely think you should go with the second edition. I think it's better than the first edition, as you would expect. But from what I read about the first edition, it's still a fantastic game, and you can see the reviews of that as well. I'm really struggling for cons here, people. This game is fantastic. Viticulture, unless you absolutely despise worker placement games, you absolutely owe it to yourself to check out Viticulture. It will be in my top 30 games of all time list I make later this year. I cannot get enough of this game. I am infatuated with this game. What do I love about this game, though? I love the worker placement. I love the fact that you have to divide up your workers. It's not just like, oh, you can do all of this on the board. No. They break it up. Like, you have to really be deciding, oh, I want to do this, but I want to do that, but it's not the winter phase yet, so I have to make sure I save some workers for here and there. But then it's like, oh, when do I want to wake up? I love the wake up mechanic as well, because it's like, ooh, I'd love to get that extra worker down there or that extra victory point, but at the same time, I don't want to pick last because then I might get this or that block. The seasonal visitors, let me tell you, you need to use the seasonal visitors. They can really just sway the game massively, but in a good way. I mean, especially if you have 2 good ones in your hand and you get that play 2 and you're like, I did this and that. It's just like, yeah, you feel like, you set it up and you knocked it out of the park. I love the mechanics in the game. I love the fact that you really do feel like you're running a winery. I mean, you're picking out what grapes you want, and then you're planting the grapes, and then you're aging them, and then you're putting them in your cellar, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I need to give tours so I can make enough money so I can expand my cellar so, these grapes don't just get wasted and don't continue to grow and flourish and get beautiful. And then you have to, there's choices upon choices upon choices. And that, I could gloat about this game for an hour. I really enjoy this game. It's one of my new favorite games. But I love the amount of choices that you make in this game. I love games that when you get done with the game, you're like, man, what if I would have done this or that or this instead of that? And that this game definitely has that in spades. You can just try and give tours and build the thing that gives you a victory point there, and then just try and dink and dunk and get all those victory points. Or you can try and save up and just make the finest, most fantastic blush and sparkling wine and just get those big 5, 6, 7 chunk points of victory points. Or you can just try and just ball up with money, and then there's tons of different ways to do it. That is the one complaint that I forgot to mention on the cons that I did have a couple people saying, is once you got towards the tail end of the game, the money really didn't mean too much because you just had so much cash flow coming in. Some people did, at least. But overall, Viticulture, I cannot say enough about this. This is an absolutely outstanding product from top to bottom. It's got a fantastic rule booklet. It's got fantastic components. It's beautiful artwork-wise. The gameplay is absolutely enthralling and fun to play. I think this might be my favorite worker placement game I've ever played. It is top-notch, outstanding. You owe it to yourself to go play it and go buy it. That is Viticulture, the second edition from Stone Meyer Games, an absolute home run. In the comments below, let me know what is your favorite new game that isn't actually a new game, or maybe a game that came out with a second edition and you're like, boom, just blown away by it, because I like to know that kind of stuff. And also, if you enjoyed this content, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.
That was the review for Viticulture. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bauer's Game Corner.